This is the meeting of the Riley Conservation Commission, which is hereby called to order on this August 21st, 2012, under the authority of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Riley Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I will now call the roll for attendance. Robert Carpenter.
Here.
Dave Delmonico.
Present.
Bob Garner.
Here.
Judy Keys.
Here.
Sam Strife.
Here.
Kurt Turner.
Here.
Doug Watson.
Here.
Sharon, and we have a quorum present. Administratively, would you care to possibly consider authorizing my payroll? Before the convening of the first item, would possibly the Commission want to go over a status update of our situation at 98 Trowbridge Circle?
Sure.
With both the wetlands enforcement and the stormwater management?
Sure. Just to remind everybody, Trowbridge Circle was the landscaping project, backyard landscaping project. Remember that one? I think when we last saw it, we needed some plan revisions. We had a very thorough stormwater management plan, but an incomplete survey plan. That's basically where we were at.
Right, yeah. The Commission had voted to issue the permit contingent upon revised plans. And this is Mr. Daniel DiStefano's property. And Mr. DiStefano was experiencing delays and not a good turnaround on work product. And when he came in with a revised plan, of course, one of the things the Commission had wanted to have depicted upon the plan, as well as the extent of the clearing and disturbance and the fill, was a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, because that had been important in the wetlands violation that occurred on the property where he inadvertently had gone in and cleared 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, and the Commission had required that to be restored. And so we had hoped for a plan that actually depicted that. The plan did come in with a wetlands delineation on it, so it was possible for a scaled line to be hand-drawn on there. I consulted with Doug, and kind of made the decision with Mr. DiStefano that we wanted him to move forward, and that I scaled the line onto a plan, and he has utilized that line for his efforts. Because we really wanted the project to move forward and for things like erosion control to be put in place. So I verified today, I was invited to the site. This picture shows installed straw wattles all along the edge within the 100-foot buffer zone that got cleared, and he's also put a straw wattle as an intermediate measure along the 100-foot buffer zone line as he works on getting the slope established and figuring out where the toe of his slope will end up being. Then that straw wattle would be adjusted to take care of sediment coming down off that slope. But in the meantime, it delineates for him where the edge of the 100-foot buffer zone is, and that his project of the fill and sloping and grading the fill will not extend into that area. So it establishes a limit of work for his stormwater permit for all the grading and shaping that he's doing on his property. He's also put in a crushed stone pad for the trucks delivering to the site to go across so they don't track materials up his driveway and take it out onto the public street. And what he's got coming in right now is mostly gravel and stuff, and then it's going to be, of course, topped off with loam when he gets the grading and the shaping done before he finishes it off. He also asked me about the planting and stuff, and I told him, of course, to consult with his wetlands consultant, but we're moving into September, which is normally thought of as being a good time to do your seeding and your planting. And so the next time, I advised him the next time to call me out would be once he's gotten the disturbed buffer zone area all finish graded down. He has to do some hand raking and stuff, and he has to do the seeding and the planting. So I asked him to give me a call when that's done. And then for a next trigger in this project for a site review, I said, was when you get your slope established and start putting your loam and spreading that, to give me a call so I can make sure that he's got erosion control in the proper places, so that before it gets vegetated, that it is properly protected from the sediment moving and stuff. But, so that's pretty much where we stand right now. There's a little delay in everything, but he's basically on track. And especially now that we've got the erosion control all put in place out there, protecting the buffer zone and the undisturbed buffer zone area. I gave him the okay to proceed as far as getting more of the fill in so he could finish off his grading and shaping.
Does he need to bring topsoil in, or did he strip and stockpile that from?
He's got some there. He may need to bring some in. The size and the extent of his project do not allow me to make a good eyeball estimate as to whether he's got enough, because it's just so big.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments? I think we've already voted to approve this, so there's really nothing.
Yeah.
We don't need to do anything.
No,
our
but I
thought
just
when we were discussing it during the week, Brent's thought and my thought was that to hold him up for a perfect plan would just delay the whole project by weeks, and he was already having difficulty. He had enough difficulty getting this plan out of the gentleman, so it seemed Brent felt he was able to accurately mark the 100-foot line, given the data that was on there, so it made sense.
You think you'd want to see it in the next month
Yeah.
or less?
Oh, and just kind of an FYI, our new pictometry is available, and that's what it shows for what his property looked like on April 12th.
Of this year?
Yep, of this year.
Interesting.
That's nice and clear.
Sure is.
Yeah. quite get the license plate
Kinda
off the
scary,
front end
yeah.
loader, but it's pretty close.
The eye in the sky.
How many other departments in town have chipped in on that?
Three.
Roughly?
Three,
Sounds
four.
like-
Three,
more. Yeah.
Well,
Definitely because of the military. There you go.
lighting, water department, Board of Health, planning board,
Planning, yeah.
Pretty
Not,
good.
not police, not fire.
not police and fire. Although they still.
They can
still
tell what
have
brand
the
barbecue you've got. Or had.
Just wait till they want a sky eye view of the escaped convict.
Well, they are going to be provided
That was a
with.
joke.
Yeah, I know, that all town departments are gonna be given the information in order to access this as to whether they choose to or not.
We'll just keep notes on who accessed it that didn't pay for it and remind them next time around
How
that
much
maybe
they
the
use it.
contribution would be used.
Well, hopefully they use it.
Yeah, well, everybody should use it. We as a town own it, so it's there to be used.
And, well, it's very worthwhile to.
All right, well, thank you, Brent. That brings us to the 7:45 item.
Just a second.
So this is a legal notice for the 7:45 item. Rowley Conservation Commission, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40 as amended, in the Town of Rowley Wetlands Protection Bylaw. A public meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 21, 2012, at 7:45 PM at Room 5, Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Patricia Leavenworth, Mass DOT, Highway Division, for proposed general maintenance of drainage ditch and cross culvert, including removal of sediment and debris near number 125 Swenson Granite, possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands at Newburyport Turnpike, map 14, parcel 16, lot right-of-way, ROW, in Rowley.
Is this under the Mass Wetlands Law or a bylaw or both?
This is just under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act.
Are you here? Come on forward, if you'd like.
My name is Andrea Norton, and I represent District 4, Mass DOT.
Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Initially, Mass DOT came in front of us and approached Brent for the other side, the southbound side of the culvert, as an emergency, and that was taken care of
Right.
at that time. This is phase 2, and when I submitted the RDA, there was information we were unaware of. Initially, they were going to clean the cross culvert, clean in front of the head wall, and then clean about 20 feet and reestablish the ditch line. This afternoon, Brent brought it to our attention that what we thought we owned, we didn't really own, that our right-of-way was closer to the head wall than we thought, and that there was a forebay, sedimentation forebay, owned by Mr. Coughlin.
Yeah.
And there was a site meeting with the 3 of us. We still need to clean in front of the culvert, but something will have to be worked out with Mr. Coughlin and Mass DOT. I don't have the authority to say we're gonna clean his sedimentation basin.
Sure.
I will go back tomorrow and discuss it with the maintenance engineer, Brett Lujan, and see what he wants to do at that time. But we definitely have to clean in front of the culvert, the head wall, and clean the pipe that goes underneath the road.
Yeah.
Mr. Coughlin is okay with us cleaning his sedimentation basin, but I have to get the okay first.
Sure.
So, I'm just curious, maybe if I looked at the sketch, I'd know the answer to this.
Thank you.
Um,
I never know what to do.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I should have told you.
That's okay.
So who owns the forebay? Is it Coughlin?
Mr. Coughlin.
Okay, it's not Swenson?
No.
Because it's not where you were expecting it to be.
Well, actually, first off, you need to understand that apparently Swenson Granite is not the property owner. They are a tenant. They apparently lease the site.
From Mr.
I
Kaufman.
guess, because the assessor's records say that Gateway 2 Realty Trust of whatever year, he's got a very long name for it, but Gateway 2
Yeah.
is listed as the property owner and receives the tax bills.
Oh, for the Swenson property?
And for the UPS building
Yeah,
too.
okay.
It's one big parcel that extends
Yeah.
extends all the way up to where UPS and the flooring.
Yeah, I knew he owned the
place used to be.
UPS building, I remember
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
guess I'd forgotten that he owned the Swenson building.
Does it go all the way
In
down
the
to
course of the
McDonald's?
conversation, he sounded like he might own multiple properties.
Well, yes, he
Yeah.
does, yeah, he does have, they have a lot of properties, both in Raleigh and also in other communities. In 2000, when the commission was entertaining a request to determine applicability from what at the time the ownership and entity was labeled as PMC, he applied to the commission to do preliminary site clearing as to where the Granite folks ended up being. Apparently, they weren't in the picture as specifically lined up as tenants at that time because they're not mentioned in the filing at all. And the request to determine applicability seemed to mostly deal with just clearing of vegetation and establishing where the delineated wetlands were so that clearing didn't go into the no cut, no disturbance area that the commission was contemplating. Apparently, during the proceedings, the commission identified a concern with this roadway underdrain culvert discharging and its close proximity to bordering vegetated wetlands, as you can see in the large blow-up that I've provided. And this is from the as-built for the certificate of compliance for the order of conditions for Swenson Granite. So, so during the RDA process in 2000, there was a supplemental submittal of a proposal of this sediment forebay to capture stuff coming out of that culvert pipe and allow it to settle before going right into the wetlands. And the commission approved that. I assume it was constructed, again, there's usually a lack of field inspection notes or whatever, but since it shows up in the as-built here, I'm pretty sure that Meridian wouldn't have been putting it in the as-built if it hadn't been constructed. Of course, it's pretty well grown in right now because it's sort of, you know, it's one of those typical stormwater features that no one's been maintaining it, no one really took any care of it. Then we had the issue with the inlet to this particular underdrain going underneath Newburyport Turnpike collapsing and all the sediment getting in there, so the sediment blocked the outlet of the pipe, and since the forebay wasn't being cleaned, nobody particularly noticed. And then we, you know, then here we are today, we discover the inlet collapsing, and that leads us to find the culvert 2/3 full of sediment, and then we go to, oh, and you've got some of the pictometry in front of you.
The head wall
See if
is almost entirely buried.
Yeah.
Buried.
Only a little bit
Well,
is shown.
yeah, here's the picture of it today, so you can just barely see the top of the arch of the pipe.
Yep.
It is,
No longer functioning properly.
that's for sure, it's probably 1.5 feet. The bottom of that pipe is probably got 1.5 feet
Sediment.
of gravel
Right.
and
Yeah.
sand and silt from the
That's
road
here,
above.
right?
That's here.
Yeah, yeah. As well as this plan kind of confirmed to us, unknown to Mass DOT, their right-of-way is relatively narrow there. They were assuming that they had some real estate
Right.
beyond the end of the culvert pipe, and actually it looks like the head wall and the end of the culvert pipe is right on the boundary of the right-of-way.
In some of the cases, because I used to work in survey a long time ago, and I did part of the Newburyport Turnpike. In some of the cases, we do have a wide right-of-way. In other cases, it's pretty narrow. And in this case, it is narrow.
Very narrow.
And sometimes there's even drainage easements,
Yeah.
recognizing that the flow
Right.
has to go off, but that doesn't appear the case here. But the other, we were fortunate in having Mr. Coughlin be able to come up and join us today, because basically I wanted to facilitate a discussion between Mr. Coughlin and Mass DOT, because, you know, either one of them, in order for I mean, they can, Mass DOT can clean the culvert pipe, but it isn't going to do much good if the accumulated sediment that's in this pre-existing sediment forebay doesn't get cleaned out. And if it's possible, and Mass Highway does it all at once, it'll kind of solve everybody's, you know,
problem.
sort of situation here.
Okay.
But what I wanted to, because we, of course, since all this kind of came to light today through no fault of anyone's, I thought about this from the standpoint of, well, if the commission, if I propose to the commission conditions, would there be anything that might change depending on who does the work here? And the answer is no, that the conditions would pretty much be the same. So I've proposed the list of conditions that you have before you. They actually kind of incorporate some of the exact same conditions that we had for the emergency certification to do the repairs on the inlet on the other side of the road. And these also are kind of cover the typical situations that you might get into in roadway drainage work. And another important note here is that it does not appear that the sediment forebay or any of this maintenance work will actually disturb bordering vegetated wetlands.
No, it looks like it wouldn't.
Even though there is limited project exemption for being able to,
Right.
you know, because very typically your roadway ditches or whatever get colonized by cattails, and sometimes they hold groundwater or they intercept groundwater, so they get wetlands vegetation, but it doesn't seem to be the case. This sediment forebay is apparently pretty well drained, and so it does not have a wetlands plant community in it, but it is adjacent to bordering vegetated wetlands. So really the same precautions that one takes in doing the sedimentation and erosion control is all that needs to be implemented here, no matter who does the project. And since the sediment forebay was previously permitted by the commission, I believe under the stormwater standards that the property owner is capable of doing maintenance there without coming and needing an individual permit for us. So I'm asking the commission to, even though it's not finalized who exactly is going to do the work and when the work's going to be done, I'm asking the commission to consider, if they're comfortable, issuing a permit to Mass DOT with the conditions as set before you. And if Mass DOT does all the maintenance work, those conditions should be sufficient. If they don't do all the maintenance work, I, of course, will talk to Mr. Coughlin as he moves forward to repair and maintain that sediment forebay. If he ends up doing the work, and he would have the same type of conditions to his work. If the commission is comfortable with that, that's my proposal.
There will be a dialogue between Brett and Mr. Coughlin, and I can get back to Brent relatively quickly after they decide who's going to do what.
Sure. Sure, it's really just a question of who does it, not what needs to be done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Comments? Questions? All makes sense to me.
Yeah, there's a little purple spot there. That is not a wetland indicator species, though, surprisingly enough.
What is it?
Purple stripe.
Considering it lives in that.
Well,
Only because
since it's an invasive species, and it also...
You don't want to discourage anybody from tearing it out. All right, unless there's any comments or questions by commissioners or members of the public, probably not, right? I guess I would be looking for a motion to close the hearing and issue a negative determination, right? Option number three. Option number three.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Dennis,
Give it to Sam. Please second. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. All right, so you'll be in touch with Brent.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Welcome.
Found it very interesting to read over this 1947 map.
Oh, yeah, like the chicken, what is it?
But hen yard,
Yeah, hen yard and.
chicken wire, and who owns what.
I didn't notice it was 47. I didn't, just went through it too fast.
Well, old time Raleigh. I didn't realize that Harris Shea owned this property over here because this house was their house and it's over there.
Oh, it's
For sale now.
Oh, the one that's for sale,
Yeah.
right next to the road.
Very
Very
well,
close
Yeah.
to the road.
zoned for business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they moved it from the other side to there. Uh-huh. I didn't say that.
Actually, probably. He was probably found out.
You know, you're up, much smaller road than those things.
Mr. Chairman, this is an administrative item, there isn't a legal notice.
So this is the 8 o'clock item, a new request for certificate of compliance, 63-567, 61 Main Street, map 25, parcel 99, Nicholas Rubel and Holly R. King by Apple Associates Inc. It must be you folks. Want to come forward and have a seat and tell us what we're doing here? And you don't have a memo, right? Or yes, you do, I'm sorry. Yes, you do. Thought I saw it. Have you seen Brent's memo? Have you seen what he wrote?
Not
Take a
received
look.
any notification other than from
Okay.
a realtor.
And then you're, so you buying or you selling?
We've bought.
They bought them.
Bought. Oh, okay.
Closed in March.
Maybe it could be somebody's memo.
Yeah, it got written late today, so you'll actually find it in your email box when you go home.
Okay.
Is Apple still in business?
Yep.
I noticed going over by Pearson Crossings, wherever that is in Newbury, the big Apple sign on the front of the building just doesn't seem to be there anymore.
Did they move?
They may have downsized.
Did they
The
move
address
to-
now is, what is it, 19?
19 something, yeah.
I was driving through Georgetown, I've forgotten the name of the road, but it parallels 95 for a while, by the new apartments.
Ten-
I
Tenny
thought-
Street.
Tenny Street. Did I see their name there?
No, there's another surveyor
Oh.
over there, John, somebody, Paulson, I think, in one of those industrial buildings on the left. Yeah, it's somebody different. All right, Brent, maybe you could just walk us through this a little bit.
Yeah, originally, this property and the adjoining property that now has the proposed Village Green development on
Oh, I
it
see where we are.
were owned by the same family, Chris Haley?
Haley.
Haley?
Haley.
Right.
And the garage had been located with about 6 feet of it over on the adjoining lot. Since it had been under uniform ownership, they hadn't really paid a lot of attention apparently when the garage was constructed as to where the lot line was. So that got relocated within this process, as well as the fact that the house needed a new sewage disposal system, so that was
Okay.
constructed and situated in a location as far away from the bordering vegetated wetlands as possible, which means there's an 80-foot
Did we-
distance as indicated on the
Did we
plan.
permit that?
Yep, we issued an order of conditions for it. Yep.
Totally don't remember that. How long ago was that?
Probably 3 years.
3 years? Really?
Easily.
February 21st, 2008.
I must not have been here. I totally don't remember that. So this is just the certificate of compliance, right?
Yep, yep, because it's all done, fully vegetated, and I think it was
Well,
back in
that's-
June. You originally came in and saw me, and I,
Well, that's the
Checked
advantage
it
of
out
waiting
and-
4 years, is it gets totally vegetated.
well,
Don't have to wait a growing season or anything, you've already waited a few.
you know, I'm not sure exactly when the work was done. I think putting the system in was only like maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. It was
Recent.
relatively recent, yeah. It wasn't done right off as soon as the order was issued.
All right, any questions by any members? Anything you folks would like to add? You don't need to. Always quick when you're ahead. In that case, I just need a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance
So there is one ongoing condition.
with one ongoing condition, that's right, there's one. Is fertilizer, right? Is that right?
Yeah, low nitrogen content fertilizer.
So use fertilizer in moderation.
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Motion carries, you're all set.
Well, as obeying water restrictions.
Just wait a second here and we'll give you a copy.
Actually, I need to send it to Apple.
Oh, right.
I think there was a holdback or something, so more than likely, I think they
Yep.
are responsible for, which you don't want to have to pay the recording fee, you might as well let them do it.
Make sure you follow up that they record it, or else whenever you get around to selling the property, you'll go through the same thing, basically. Someone will have to track down the certificate.
So do we need to contact them?
Yes, it would be a good idea to follow up with them in, when do you think it'll
Or,
go out?
well, is there legal counsel handling this at all, or?
Yes.
I would just check with legal counsel and make sure that they copy you.
And they might say to you,
With proof of
well, why don't you
recording.
call Apple directly, but just somebody there needs to make sure it gets sent off to the Registry of Deeds so that the issue doesn't arise. I mean, it's been issued, but if you go to sell your house in 10 years and it wasn't recorded, it'll probably be difficult to track down that original. Who knows what file it'll be in at that point. So a little follow-up is often a good thing.
Okay.
Really annoying.
Hmm?
Really annoying.
I'd save you some legal fees if you do it yourself.
I'm Rutherford Brain, you're gonna watch it there.
Thank you.
Okay, you're all set, thank you. Now we have an emergency. This must have just come up.
Yes. 4:30 yesterday.
Time to send around an email about it. What property is this, Brent?
Well, this is Essex County Greenbelt's property, and this is where there's 3 structures located on the property, and I don't know, is this formerly Ruth Alexander's residence or cottage or
Yes.
something down there? As well as this is where the folks from doing the research, the marine biological labs and the Tufts people and Northeastern and Boston University, where they're grad students, researchers and stuff stay. And the smaller cottage that's further downriver, where the wharf extends from, no,
Down the way.
yeah, the river's going this way,
Oh, yeah, okay.
flowing towards me.
Yeah.
This one, where the wharf
Where the
is, yeah.
sound, yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah, right, because the road bends that way.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Did we permit that for?
I'm sorry?
Did we permit that for?
I haven't any idea.
I don't remember that being
Been there since Hector was a pup, I think.
I don't think so.
No?
No, not this Hector. Maybe Hector's son. I had a boat in front of her house, or beside her house, 20 years ago, so
Yeah, there you don't remember a word.
I know it wasn't there then.
What, the dog?
Huh?
The dog?
The dog.
Anyone looking
Yeah.
at
Been there for quite a while though.
No, the clan.
BB used it.
Oh,
The lady who
yeah, yeah.
went swimming every day. 90 years old.
So the pipe broke, I take it.
Yeah, it's a sort of a shared system or a system that goes into a common, whatever it's labeled at right there, and it gets pumped. And actually, it's pumped back up to near where the pavement of Railroad Avenue ends. Greenbelt's got another lot across the marsh,
Oh,
in a sense. If I could just, if we could shamelessly steal the aerial photo, it gets pumped apparently across to here, up over to here, I think, is where the system is. Wow. So it kind of is collected, I think, somewhere around there, and then it must be pumped across there. Because, you know, because I was informed early on that the activity was going to be down here in an area previously gravel and stuff, I didn't bother to go track down whether there was any past permits or anything else like that.
well, I'm just curious how they take care of it.
Yeah.
So which line broke?
From the house to the tank, or the cottage, excuse me, what's described, I think, on that as the eastern cottage?
Oh, right
Yep.
down here, okay.
Yeah, the orange highlighting
Yep,
is,
all
yeah.
right,
Yeah, from the actual cottage to the tank.
okay.
There's a tank for every dwelling down
Right,
there, but
right.
then the outflow of those tanks is all,
They go,
yeah,
they
they're
go
all
some-
accumulated together and
some
goes into a pump
station
chamber, yeah.
that pumps
That
it
sends
across
it
the
across
marsh,
country,
okay.
yeah.
So it was that small little connection between the tank and that bottom.
In the house, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about 20, I'm told 20 feet or less of line that needs to be
Of excavating.
replaced. Yeah. Yeah, as well as already in previously disturbed areas.
It's all previous, looks like it is.
How's it break? Somebody ride over?
Just maybe old age, I don't know, or shifting to the ground. Anyway, the conditions that I'm proposing are listed as follows. That this form only allows remedial activities necessary to abate the emergency condition. Any further activities associated with the property shall require the approval of the RCC through its standard permitting procedures, period. Number 2, the RCC reserves the right to require the installation of erosion control devices as may be deemed necessary by an RCC staff/agent or as needed in order to prevent erosion and sedimentation into coastal wetland resource areas, period. Number 3, at no time shall vehicles or other equipment enter any coastal wetland resource areas without the consent of an RCC staff or agent, period. Number 4, any dewatering methods deemed necessary to complete this project shall be subject to the final approval of an RCC staff or agent prior to their implementation. The applicant shall provide additional erosion control devices to capture and treat any pumped water that might be introduced to the resource area during the repair/replacement of the sewage disposal system pipe, period. Number 5, all disturbed or exposed soil surfaces shall be permanently stabilized to the satisfaction of an RCC staff/agent, period. Excavation shall be prohibited from previously undisturbed salt marsh or native plant communities unless authorization is obtained from the RCC staff/agent. Number 6, the applicant shall schedule a site inspection with an RCC staff/agent following the completion of work, at which time compliance with these conditions shall be demonstrated. And that's the end.
You got it covered? How far down do you think this pipe is?
He estimates 2 to 3 feet. So I'm not sure that there's actually going to get into any dewatering
I was just wondering.
type issues.
You don't have to go too deep there, I got though, to get water.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, and that's kind of why I put that in there. I mean,
Yeah.
for excavation and trench work, that's kind of my standard suite. I mean, I modify them a little bit, identifying the coastal resources and stuff, but it's kind of the same things, like I might deal with pipes, stormwater pipes, or sewage pipes.
The only question I had was about the need for vehicle permits. That sounds like even a car couldn't be used without your approval. And
Driving across the salt marsh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but you're not talking about driving, you're talking about using an established road to a place between cottages.
That's not what the condition is
Right,
identifying, no.
Restrictions only on the
Right.
resource area.
Not sure between which of those two though.
Supposedly it breaks right there. Right there, according to that sketch. Breaks right
Close to the house.
Yeah.
there.
If we're talking about excavators or backhoes, I would agree, but if it's just normal car or truck,
But
You're missing the point.
But your condition is
The
just over.
condition prohibits
work, right?
any vehicles from going into undisturbed salt marsh or wetland plant communities.
Okay, I missed
In
the
other words, going
understood.
off the gravel.
Okay.
So, what is the vehicle access to this building? I
I
wonder?
think that's a shed.
Well, actually,
Is this just a?
that has a cantilevered overhang, so
This
it's
right
either
here?
possible that, and
Hmm.
actually, I think the gravel, they actually drive around that building, but it might have enough of an overhang that they drive partially underneath it.
There's
Right
there's
there.
a perfectly good driveway you can use.
Yeah, I've been down there myself. Actually, remember that we had the proposal for moisturizing the
Right.
the intertidal zone
Clam.
down there.
Oh, yeah, right. Right. It's seawater. Okay, right, I got it.
And I went over these conditions with Dave Rimmer. In fact, he came in and picked up the permit with my signature on it today, because I'm intending to start tomorrow morning, so I didn't want to hold him up, waiting
No, right.
for us. I mean, especially where it's, it's the
It's a broken sewer.
the septic surface to that occupied
I
structure.
presume people are using the other buildings for the moment.
I believe so, yes.
What are these little, are these bushes, trees, fence posts?
Don't know.
Rocks.
They're kind of big.
It could just be different colored vegetation in response to where the gravel roadway is, probably lifts it up, and so different things are growing there.
It seems so regular along the driveway and
Yeah.
How'd they figure out it was
Looks like a
broken?
fence.
Was there,
I don't think there's a fence down there when I
I'll
go.
bet
Coming
there
through
was,
the ground,
I'll bet there was a puddle, some kind of a puddle that came to the surface, I'll bet.
or an
rises
odor.
up to the surface?
Yeah, the ground just
Uh-huh.
not been
It's
able
sort of
to
hard to
absorb
tell
it
sometimes
anymore.
on the salt marsh.
It probably came right up to the, right up
You
to
may
the
not
ground.
want to know any more than that. Maybe as much as we
Somehow
can
they
hear
do.
them.
Then it would have been probably a smell thing, I think, at that point.
And also, I would
Yeah.
think the facilities inside would stop functioning
Yeah, they would
appropriately.
not.
Well, I think that's where the door, getting in and out, that side of the building facing gravel is the doors for egress and access.
Oh, is it?
We've
And
done it right away.
so I'm sure if the pipe broke right there, they'd probably notice
We
right
knew it right
off.
away.
I was thinking it'd be in the back somewhere.
People going by in boats probably did too.
But, well, fortunately, it should be a very quick fix. I mean,
Yeah.
they should be able to do
Yes.
that in a matter of hours, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we just need to approve the issuance of the emergency certificate. I think that's done.
Yeah, and sign
Administratively.
it.
Sign it, yeah. So.
Or authorize the issuance of the emergency
Yes, so I
certification.
have a motion to authorize the issuance of the emergency certificate as described with the conditions
So
as
moved.
described. And a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Yeah, you get a whole bunch of people standing up and wondering. Probably weeds.
I'm gonna say, I think it's vegetation,
Yeah, but, you know.
because you look all along there, you see, and I think it's because of the gravel roadbed, since it rises up, you get different vegetation that,
Do you have any
that
idea when
responds
this was
to it.
taken?
yes, around April 12th.
Okay, so this is-
Same topo as before?
Well, I think the same, same section of flights as,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is when our aerial photography is at its best right now.
when the leaves aren't on the tree.
Well, and right after we get the set, because it's very fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I can even tell you for the photograph for the annex, I can almost tell you the time of day based on the shadow that's in the parking lot over here.
The
It's
sundial.
afternoon.
Like a sundial, just,
Yeah. If you really wanted to make a study of it, you'd consider the angle, do some calculations, the approximate date, probably work it out.
I swear, Google Earth caught me on a lawnmower. It's just such a, there's a blob right in the middle of part of my lawn where it's just absolutely nothing.
There is no blob there.
There's no reason for a blob whatsoever.
Right.
You're the blob.
You're the blob.
can you see a difference in the lawn?
Well, it could have been a wheelbarrow.
I'd look at my house and say, whose cars are those?
Yeah.
I recognize one of them, but the other one doesn't look that familiar. Probably a visitor, and we don't know, a while ago. It doesn't look like one of our cars, though. It's a puzzle.
Yeah, a weird story about that. A friend of mine at work, her father passed away out in California, San Diego. And you know how Google Earth has the road view?
The street view.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There was her dad
Oh, jeez.
walking a dog
Really?
right there.
Now deceased dad.
Yes,
Really, huh?
kind of freaky.
Mhm.
Preserved forever within
Well,
Google Street View.
Until the next set of
Within
pictures.
some
Yeah,
area,
Google
yeah.
Street.
There he was.
Trapped at some big Google server farm
Yeah.
somewhere.
Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there anything else we need to talk about? There was something.
The federal highway folks, still waiting for issuance of a file number from DEP, but I have received the check and been given confirmation that they sent DEP the fee. So just waiting for that to work its way through and also to collaborate with my Conrad in Ipswich in regards to.
I know what else I want to ask you. Do you ever get any more meaningful response on the cell tower folks?
Well,
At Sprint.
since you haven't asked. Yes, I had a site visit today.
What's her about?
With the folks. So,
Did they get your name right this time?
yes.
Brent instead of David?
Yeah.
It's never a good way to start a letter with the wrong name.
Well,
Dear whoever you are, that don't matter to me at all. That's what
No,
that
so,
is.
no, so actually, the gentleman, the marketing or gentleman who is overseeing Sprint's application to the planning board to put some more antennas, I think, on the monopole. It's basically been put in his lap now to resolve, facilitate whatever contractor, I guess it's a contractor that does work for Sprint, and goes around and actually, from the stories today, it seems that he deals with all these issues from the original contractors who don't finish the site work as they're actually paid to do, and he goes around and gets the sites.
This is Tower Co. Is that?
No, Sprint actually.
Okay.
Tower Co. apparently, it's possible that either during the permitting process or shortly after the permit was issued, Tower Co. actually bought this.
Okay.
The initial application to the commission here in Raleigh was via Sprint by an engineering firm that they hired. And apparently they were putting up multiple of these sites because the gentleman I talked to today didn't recognize the engineering firm's name, and they don't think they have the office in Rhode Island that the phone number indicated anymore. So anyway, so Tower Co. though is apparently about to sell their collection of tower sites to some other company. Sale anticipated to occur in October, so they want to get this resolved, but they've kind of put it on Sprint since they got the permit and actually facilitated, I guess, the initial construction, that they're basically saying, well, that's what you paid your contractors for, was to finish this thing out, and the fact that the contractors didn't bother to do it. Either way, it appears to be getting handled. I at least had a site visit today. I will keep you apprised. The planning board is meeting tomorrow night. I don't exactly know how the planning board is going to handle this because their permit issuance process is a little different from ours, and we're not exactly sure. They're under a mandated time to actually issue a decision.
Issue or deny.
So they can't exactly do the same thing that we sometimes do, which is vote contingent upon, you you give us the as-built and we approve it and we'll give you the certificate of compliance. They may have to just keep continuing this.
Right.
But I had a very frank discussion with this marketing guy, David Archambault. He said, "You're doing exactly the right thing. You should hold up our application until this gets taken care of." I said, "Well, that's the planning board's decision." But
Did he say why they're selling off their properties?
I don't know that he's like an independent consultant that does these type of permitting requests for Sprint, so I'm not sure that he even really knows what is going on in the bowels of Tower Co. and
High finance, Wall Street stuff.
But yeah, so we've got the bark mulch, sediment sock, erosion control sock around, almost totally around the site, and that just was a particularly photogenic piece of it since it's all nice green and glowing with the moss that's growing on it. They've got to remove that. There's a piece of rebar sticking out of the ground that I pointed out to them, and the picture at the bottom there was given to you because there is this section where there's bare soil exposed. I didn't get too concerned about sections that were moss covered because moss is a plant and moss does provide some stabilizing characteristics to the bare soil. But there's a section of approximately, I think I pasted out, and it was about 20 feet by 5 or 6 feet in width that was predominantly bare soil without any vegetative cover. So I suggested that they might want to bring a pickup bed full of loam in with a wheelbarrow and spread some loam and seed it. And I told them that because there is a vegetated edge there and it's about 12 to 15 feet to where the original erosion control was, and there is some vegetative cover in between there. I told them that they wouldn't have to leave that old bark mulch sock in place there, that they could remove all the erosion control, that I knew that it wouldn't go very far. It's not really very much of a slope there anyway. It's very, very gentle, pretty close to being level, so that 5 or 6 foot width that they need to reloam and reseed, it wouldn't go very far anyway. It wouldn't go outside their original limit of disturbance.
So
Anyway.
just as, to go over the procedures, so for my own edification, we're involved because planning asked us for comments on the planning, or because they never got a...
We're involved because there's an order of conditions.
And they never got a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, yeah, they never closed out the project, and I've got documentation that I had a site visit, I think it was in November 2006, with a previous contractor identified by Sprint to finish up these details to button down the site, and they just never did it.
Speaking of the planning board, Mr. Chairman, I had a ad hoc conversation with the chairman of the planning board at a nearby recycling center the other day, and he pointed out to me that in the interregnum between planning board secretaries, that Mr. Baslak was extremely helpful and in assisting office needs, and he said I owe him. So pass along the compliment. And an IOU.
Good. That's nice to hear. That'll be Mr. Brandt, I presume?
Yes, correct, Brandt.
Well, that's a pat on your back, Brent. Well deserved, I'm sure. Anything else? I can't think of any other enforcement.
I have an appointment with Irwin Tree Removal Company of Groveland at Muddy Creek Animal Hospital tomorrow morning, bright and early. Some trees they want to cut down, and of course they've got a little pond there, so they have a multitude of wetland resource areas there, as well as, I believe, a perennial stream.
A bunch of stuff, yeah.
Possibly the edge of the groundwater to protection area may come across the road there, and whatever, so they very correctly called me ahead of time. So I'm meeting with them. And then I received a...
Can we stop this there?
Oh, sure.
That reminds me also, today I was driving through that area, coming from the next town, and happened to glance over at the Abazar property that was there, and it struck me that there was an enormous number of vehicles parked behind there, and I wondered if they transformed the use of that property in some way. It might be worth it, the next time you're going by there, to just take a peek and see what's going on.
Like he's storing boats and RVs and different things that people don't want to keep at their house.
It'd also be a good idea to check on the trees behind the units to see if they're still there.
Well, I every so often do glance over, and the trees that I put the pink flagging ribbon are still all there.
That's it. Was there, good question. You were about to continue about Muddy Creek, or is it about something else?
No, it's about something else. I received a request from Weston and Sampson, their project or clerk of the works person requested that I come out and meet at the site with him and their engineer Bill Nunnery to discuss options on their river crossing.
This is the underground driven
This was
pipe,
supposed to be the pipe ramming.
rammed pipe.
Yeah. I think they're considering something else. They may be considering directional drilling.
Directional what?
Drilling. I will
So there
have,
must be some stones underneath.
I'll have to report back to you. Well, they encountered ledge. They
Large
encountered
stones.
ledge as to where the plant is going. And I'm not sure if it's more ledge than they anticipated, but it may have got them thinking that there might be ledge over where
Little
the
seismic
river's
survey
supposed to
would
be.
have
Don't
done.
surprise me. Having
What?
own property
Rock
down there.
in Raleigh?
Yeah.
So you can expect your water bill to go up.
I don't know why they couldn't bridge it.
More.
Take a pipe across it.
Yeah, I was
and-
thinking
and
overhead.
Insulate it thoroughly in such a way that, 5 feet above the water level and be done with all that mess.
Well,
Would
it's
be
not what they proposed.
environmentally cleaner, I know.
The,
They need the natural insulation of deep earth, I think, is what they're.
you keep the water
Well,
flowing.
if the water was moving all the time,
Oh, it'll never freeze if it's moving all the time, perhaps.
and
There
you
may
could
be a time when it's not.
loop it in such a way that maybe it wouldn't, but anyway. Just a thought.
But we've been through directional drilling before.
Well, I think-
Somewhere else.
I think we asked them, actually.
No, not for this
Yeah.
project.
But there was
Actually,
another one.
There was another one.
Out in the marsh.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the
right.
one that
Water.
they just decided to
Oh.
redo the foundation. What was
Yeah.
her name?
Yeah,
There's a woman, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
the former,
But the
former somebody's.
directional drilling involves using slurry,
Right.
so that's always the big issue,
Right.
so.
Yep.
They might
We had a
strike
long
natural
talk, as I
gas.
recall, with them about the merits and considerations of ramming it versus directional drilling versus, I don't think we discussed the bridge technique. It'd be a pretty big change. Well, okay. So when are you meeting with that? Be kind of interesting.
9, I believe.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
There's one thing that I brought along, I received from another source, is that there's been a change to the extension law recently.
Oh, it's been, I'm sorry, yes, the Permit Extension Act has
Right,
been
okay.
amended.
Yes.
Yeah, you sent an email, but it was tentative, that you weren't sure what
Right,
the
yeah,
status was.
yeah,
So,
a
Bob,
lot's
you
gone on,
think it has been-
but I received,
I saw this, somebody handed me this, basically it's doubled
yes,
from 2 years to 4 years.
yeah, they've now done 4 years, but the way they did it, I requested and received advice from Judy Pickett in regards to it, and her opinion, after looking at also some other firms that deal more in land permitting type things, is that it appears this actually has resulted in a cumulative 6-year
Yeah, that's what it
extension.
sounds like, actually, reading it. As much as.
Because they didn't say, it has to do with how they amended it, they just struck the date, put a new further date out, 2012, and they just struck the 2 years and changed it to 4 years.
Right.
So by doing that, without any qualifications, so the 2-year was in place for a while, and if your permit was subject to the time period then, you
Grandfather.
get the 2 years. Now with now the amendment to the 4 years, and the fact that they just lengthened the applicable time for your permit to have been active or valid, that results in a cumulative add-on of 6 years, according to town council.
The legislature speaks, we listen.
And that is, we do have, actually, we have one person, Dana Warren, who's probably gonna be very grateful for that, because his permit on 50 Cross Street,
Yeah,
he came before us.
right. That's
We said that the 2-year extension had been applicable to it. He requested a 1-year extension from us, and then when that expired, he failed to get back and failed to request a further extension from us, and that was,
But the way this works is.
that was the end of last year, so yeah, so
Okay,
now
if it's
that
expired,
gets,
you can
now,
still get it.
now that gets 4
Extended.
years.
It's automatic.
Gets extended 4 years.
Yep.
Mhm. Interesting.
Some people look at it.
Hard to believe that project was that long ago.
You know, time flies.
All right, anything else you can think of?
I don't believe so.
A motion to adjourn,
So move.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. That might be a record for shortest meeting.